This model is created in completely free software made by company PTC Creo Elements Direct Modeling Express. In this case, this is version 4. This is nice and easy to be built. So the general idea of the application is not to draw separately vertices, surfaces, but rather create work plane and draw some 2D geometry and then extrude or pull some solid geometry. There are also some auxiliary features like this shell when you create the open box with some walls with defined thickness, but I don't use it usually because it is easy to create the box and just exclude some space inside. So in this case we have the open box and we just create the new work plane on some surface. This one is bottom surface, and when this work plane is created on the surface, it also creates the auxiliary geometry like lines which reflects the borders of the object. This nice auxiliary geometry like this also helps afterwards to put the real geometry. So you just make some places and some points where you can put the center of the geometry, cycles or lines or arcs, as in this case. So I assume this will be holes with some holders, and I just create 2D geometry which afterwards I will pull to the solid object. On the left side there is a review where there are some parts and work planes. So one part, usually this one object. In this example I draw the geometry for 2 holders and copy it and then extrude. If I didn't set up operation as adding materials, it can actually extract some materials. So sometimes it is more easy to define that we add material or remove material. We also can pull surfaces to make it thicker or thinner. So in this case it was pull it to make it thicker, so we can have the solid bottom of the box and it looks like a solid object. So the whole idea is to work with solid geometry, and you don't care about the vertices, you don't care about some objects like in Blender, for instance. So this application can take care about all these details. You just focus it on the cutting objects which are looks like a real object in real life. So in this case we just measure the distances from the top and the left right side and find the center of this object to cut the hole. So we define the center, draw 2D geometry on the work plane and just pull it with extracting the material, and it extract the solid part of this wall, so we have the actually hole. If we don't need any more such geometry, we can just delete it. But in this case this is an example how to create another part. This is an example how to create the part based on geometry of another part. So we have the box with the hole, and now we need to create some another object inside this hole which for instance, can be used to put cable inside this box, and this object can protect the cable from the damaging. We are drawing the geometry on the same plane as we use it for cutting the hole, but the focus is on the preview, is on the another part, on part P2. This means that all changes applied to the modification of the geometry is applied to this part, and the part P1 remains as it was. Another nice feature, you can create as many work planes as you need on any surfaces and even on edges, and these surfaces also guide auxiliary geometry if there is some holes or cycles or square holes. It helps to find the center of the geometry. Now we can also turn on off visibility to see the whole object, and we can remove the not necessary work planes. And this is a fillet, so it is very nice to have not sharp angles, sharp edges, but to make it more smooth, and it is very easy to do. So once you created one fillet, you can apply the same radius of the fillet to other edges before you click OK. Yes, and the work plane can be moved such way. So if you double click on the work plane as well on the part and select the move the plane, you can move it. In this case, we actually don't much care about the precision, so we more or less found the center of the wall, and we will use this to draw some geometry to cut this second part. So we just cut out of some part of this, and as you can see, when you draw some lines, it also indicates that lines are parallel or they are in the 90 degrees angle, and as long as these lines connected in the loop, it can be used to the pulling. To extract, in this case this is adding materials, and we can also remove the material. So this is kind of making this ring more flexible. All modifications will be applied only to active parts. To make the part active, right click on this part in the preview and select Set Active in the context menu. Work plane can be created on any surface of any part, but modifications will be applied to the active part. One of my favorite features is auxiliary geometry, when I can draw thin lines with specific distances or on specific angle or in the center of existing geometry. Then I will use this thin line as a guide for the geometry used for modification. For instance, here we find the center of this box's wall, so we can put this cycle in the middle of this wall, and then we can make the hole in this object when we select this object as active. So we right clicked on part P1 in the preview and set it as active. Afterwards, we will pull this cycle to make the hole. This hole will be used in the next part of this tutorial.